is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome back. Marcus, I feel like you and I might be overwhelming the audience with some of this information about the city council, but the reason we keep bringing it up is because it's so damn important.
It's super important.
Look, I'm pretty convinced, you have Jack Spillane's article today saying, will this be the last year that the city council is considered a real governing body?
Yeah.
That's no small charge, okay? We've had moments of dysfunction. We have people who don't always work out or have great attendance, things like that. I'm thinking back to, who's a city council member who just left? Who's a city council member who was at large?
Deb Coelho.
Deb Coelho took about a year off, right? That was, but the body still functioned, you know. I think she had some personal problems or family problems, but I don't think she was even in the country. The point being is she was still collecting a check, though, not doing any work, and that was a problem, but the body still functioned. It wasn't a complete breakdown, right? I mean, it moves on. You had Hugh Dunn resign before the end of his term. You had other things happen, right? But the body still continues.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now...
What we're seeing,
a total breakdown.
What we're seeing now since Council President Moore became Council President has been
and I think that's an important thing to point out.
I think it's an important thing to point out because one of the things she did that was, I think, considered, it was such an embarrassing spectacle for some councilors that they actually chose to come on this show the next day to clarify, to inoculate themselves from it, to separate themselves from it.
Explain it.
So what happened, a few weeks ago, Council President Moore decided to waive the time, a time limit to speak. She did so and then spoke herself for 27 minutes, complaining about John Mitchell, the mayor, complaining about the media, us, and other people.
By the way, we know what you meant, Linda.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah, of course. Complaining about us.
Please keep doing it. I appreciate it.
And complaining about us, complaining about everything, right? And then a few other people did that. We had a city councilor call one of our reporters little man, right? Really denigrating stuff.
Right.
So it was an embarrassing spectacle. And so after two city councilors, Shane Burgo and Ryan Pereira, actually Ryan reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I'd love to come on and talk about last night. And really came here to make a point that they wanted to separate themselves from a lot of that other madness that was going on in that meeting. We appreciated it. It was good radio.
And it was good for them.
It was good. I thought it was great for them. And so they were able to explain, like, you know, they had issues with Mayor Mitchell. They were able to come here and talk about it a little bit more soberly. And so, I mean sober in the figurative sense.
Correct.
So just to clarify.
It's good to clarify.
Yeah, it's good to clarify. I mean sober in the figurative sense. So
we're not yet charging anyone with drunkenness.
So, yeah, right. So you have not yet. So you have this. You have that whole fiasco that happened. You have now these ballot questions that fall from the sky.
But you had the pay raise stuff.
Then you had the Morad pay raises, which were the $50,000 pay raises that she proposed, right? The $50,000 pay raise she proposed for her
unbelievable.
It was so unbelievable that the city council, the council chambers were packed with people that were pouring over the balconies from what I heard.
And Marcus, I would like to build off that to say, you folks out there who think that maybe this rent stabilization question will give you some relief, I would just simply point to the fact that Linda Morad is not above giving financial largesse to her friends. So if you think that giving her control of your rent is somehow going to break you away, think again.
508-996-0500. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. You know, you're speaking about Mayor Mitchell catches a lot of flack, but remember, it was 2019 that the city charter was changed for a 4-year mayorship.
Right.
Now, at that point in time, Mr. Mitchell had already won 4 consecutive 2-year terms.
Correct.
And he won a 5th one. And that's why, here we go, 23, he's up again to be elected. Now, my point is what happened with the council. I really believed it in 2021. They found out it was a different tiger because the mayor was out of the loop, but they still had to keep running. They still do every 2 years.
Excellent point.
Excuse me?
Excellent point.
Yes, that gives the mayor some power, levity, gravity, and things get done. They didn't like it. They didn't like it because of the fact that they're scrambling for votes and the mayor's sitting back because that's the way it should be. Now they want to change the charter again. And why would you want to change a charter for someone who's been in office 12 years? I mean, Mr. Mitchell was 8 years in when they changed the charter, and he won. So, okay, that election cycle in 2021 opened their eyes to the fact that this mayor, it's his way or the highway. No, things have changed.
Right.
The mayor now has some leverage to get things done. It's up to you to start producing, or you will not get your next 2-year term. And I think that's where we're at. I think that it was bold. You just mentioned the $50,000 raises. It was bold. But I think in the back of their head is they're saying, again, we're going to go back to a 2-year mayorship, and we're going to have a lot more power back there. It ain't going to happen.
Right.
Mr. Mitchell, I think, is going to get another 4 years.
I suspect you're right. We haven't seen anybody even dip their toe in the water.
I also believe that the council at large represents 5 seats, and that's Morad and Burgo's in on that. So if they pulled some shenanigans, whatever, they're at large councilors, and of course there's 6 ward councilors. Now we got all of it replaced and done. But the thing is that does it divide that way? Is it lockstep now? Is this next cycle of 4-year mayors, is it going to be lockstep to where the ward councilors get together and just vote 6 all the time? Or is it more than that, seeing how they're meeting outside of the chambers?
Right.
So I just put that out there. I thought it was interesting. I think that, of course, if the mayor does win, he'll be a 16-year mayor. And I think that there's these 8 years of the 4-year terms, the 2 4-year terms are going to produce and grow the city. I think a 2-year mayor is just a lot of gridlock, and the councilors love it that way.
No, I agree with you, caller. I think you make a point. And look, I like to point out that I was originally opposed to the 4-year mayor's term.
Yeah.
My reason being is that, and we'll still wait to see. I think John Mitchell does a great job, and I think the city's lucky to have him.
I think we're very fortunate to have him.
But we could have a bad mayor for 4 years.
I think he loves the city and the people of the city, not the politics of the city. And I think you got a good man there. He gets a lot of interesting comments from the council, so I obviously got him under a microscope in his first 4-year term.
Thanks for the call.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Look, and I'm surprised that these ballot initiatives all got on there, except Marcus. And the caller brings up a good point about the next term, 4-year mayor, whether John Mitchell gets reelected.
Yeah.
Was this all a setup? Councilor Burgo let some of it out of the bag when he says he wants to increase voter turnout. Was Linda Morad thinking solely about increasing voter turnout so that if she runs for mayor, she'll get a larger turnout and have direct issues on the ballot to raise against the mayor? To say, I'm for lowering your rents. Mm-hmm. I'm for lowering your taxes. I'm for a 2 years mayor. John Mitchell's done all these things wrong. Is that what she's ultimately getting to try to make a more stimulating election? Maybe. The other thing I would say to folks is that if I was you and I lived in the city of New Bedford and I was interested in politics, I would say this is your year. There's a lot happened on the council to run against. There's a lot to run against. There is going to be more of a turnout this year because there is a mayor's race, even if there's not much of a mayor's race. This will be your higher turnout.
Right.
You have a lot of things to run on, talk about, the pay raises, whether or not you're for rent control or not for it, or even if you think that this is a sham process, that because of the way it was done, there is no hope for rent control. That you support rent control, but you recognize it's a sham process. That it has no grassroots support because it was never given the opportunity to get grassroots support. And that was part of Linda's plan to begin with. She's not really for this. So if you want to run for office, I'm telling you right now is the time to start thinking about it. More than think about it. Take some action. Or we'll have 4 more years or 2 more years of the same old, same old. Now is the time to start thinking about it.
Well, it's got to be frustrating, I think, for a lot of people, to see all this stuff. There's just some, frankly, pretty indefensible votes that have been taken.
Marcus, New Bedford is the center of the region.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest cities in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So those of us who live on the periphery of the city cannot sit by and just watch a city government implode.
Yeah.
I mean, through neglect, malfeasance, personality conflicts, the city has no real governing legislative body right now.
Yeah.
And as Jack Spillane points out in his column at the New Bedford Light, newbedfordlight.org, the only one who's not part of the crowd is the newest elected
right.
Councilor Oliver. And I hope for his sake he stays independent.
I hope so, too. I mean, I think that...
You don't want them all to be friends.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that they're not...
Not hurt each other's feelings.
They're not there for friendship.
They're there for $25,000 and friends. It's amazing, Mark.
Yeah, the thing is, it's fine. And I guess it's not like disallowed, but this kinship is moving towards...
It should be discouraged.
Yeah, it should be discouraged because you're an independent legislative body that needs to take stands against each other on important issues. That
you have conflicting interests.
Yeah, and it can't be this... You can't have a hive mind mentality.
A hive, like you're all bees working together.
Yes. A hive mind mentality means exactly. Everybody's doing the same thing, basically.
You cannot... Look, there are things that Ward 1 needs. And look, I like Brad Markey. That's how you can tell I'm going to say something terrible. I like Brad Markey. He's a nice man. But if you go back and watch what they call a debate now in New Bedford City Council about the CPA, Linda Morad gets up and talks about all the calls she's gotten from people about the tax bill. Brad Markey stands up and says, I just looked at my tax bill and I think it was about $30, he says. My CPA was about $30, he says. Linda Morad says to him, I think you need to look again at your tax bill. In other words, tells him he's either wrong or he's lying. Either way, terrible. And then laughs at him.
Yeah.
And he sits down. Now, maybe that was the better part of an Irishman, to not let his Irish show. But I got to tell you something. If someone told me that I don't know what my own tax bill is and then laughed at me on a television camera to make their point, I would have been furious.
Yeah.
I certainly would have held it against her. But for Brad Markey, I guess that's not enough.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Good evening.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Chris McCarthy.
Like, what nicknames does he have for me?
Right. I just Mr. America.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Not bad. How are you? I already asked you that. Go ahead.
I'm still good. I'm just trying to... The way I'm seeing this situation unfolding is I feel like Ian Abel was doing a better job leading the council.
I agree with you.
And dealing with, the issues in a more, professional way.
There you go. Professional way.
And I feel like he was kind of trying to do the right thing. He did. I didn't always agree with, everything.
How can you? Right.
But I feel like he had respect for the fact that he was the president. And I feel like it's only been how long since Morad got back in that position?
2 months.
Yeah, January.
2 months, yeah.
Okay. So look what, and I feel like in that short amount of time, things are going off the rails. And I think she's enjoying this.
I agree with
you.
And I'm saying to myself, you got some new counselors, you've got some longtime counselors, and a lot of people on the council don't seem to be able to deal with the way the mayor conducts business. A lot of them say, it's his way or the highway, and so you've got kind of a lot of dissension going on. And I think she's playing into all of this. And to me, I'm feeling like we're in a situation where there's a lot of low information voters, even the ones that turn up. And I think that she may be just trying to, pull a trump card on this situation with the rents. But I also think there are so many people that feel the economy is so uncertain.
Correct.
And they're feeling the pinch desperately.
Yes.
That I'm not unsure that this thing couldn't pass.
Well,
I know it's just, non-binding referendum.
Right.
But I'm saying they all may have gotten the ball rolling. And I don't feel like, the voters are looking under the layers of what the long-term implications are.
Correct.
But these guys are playing with fire. And I'm like saying, what has happened? What has happened? I know Ian decided, hey, I need to do other things in my life. But
do you blame him?
We're in a mess.
Do you blame him?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Not at all. But at the same time, we need somebody at the helm who's trying to right the ship. I feel like it's really, I feel like it could go from bad to worse. And if they can't get along with the mayor, which I don't agree with a lot of stuff he does either, but I'm saying, what are we going to do with another 4 years of things just disintegrating?
You don't have to get along with them. You don't even have to like them, but you have to work with
together.
them. You got to work together. We've all had people we don't particularly like at work, but we work together. I mean, Well, that's what I'm saying. Right.
They might not like his policies. They might not like his vision for the city, but I'm saying
they don't present their own. The thing is, they have the power of the legislative body is the power to conduct hearings, to lay out issues, to build public support. They don't do any of it.
Dinner.
Right? No, you're right. It's a very good point, Carla, that they're not concentrating on the job. They like being council members. They like being seen in the public. I think that was how someone described it to me. They like being out and about.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
Right?
They like being seen.
They like being seen. They like being fawned over at the restaurants. There's all the counselors here. And look, I agree that it's nice for them to visit local restaurants. I think that's a very positive thing. But they're not doing the work. And so for Shane Burgo to say it's the mayor's way or the highway, yeah, but the mayor does his work. If Shane wanted to have it his way, he could have had hearings. Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't know enough about Shane Burgo to comment. So here I go. I'm going to comment anyway.
Right.
I don't know a lot. I'm going to preface it with that. But I've seen a few actions out of him that I don't like. I don't like hey, there's not a quorum here. Let's all just hit the road. And then the next thing is, let's do it without other members. He's new. I think he should be following all the rules until he knows the rules well,
right,
and making things work. Not go in there and say, I'm gonna run this show my way. No.
And to not look, he's the chairman of the housing committee, and to not hold hearings for 9 months. And then again, and Marcus agrees with him to some degree that he was a new counselor and get his feet wet. Look, but what's the excuse for this year? Because now that he's the chairman again this year under Linda, he hasn't held any hearings again. We're already into March.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if you're the new counselor, put your head down, learn some things, and stop acting like you're going to stomp out if people aren't doing things the way you want. I'm not enjoying his behavior at all.
Look, he's a very nice guy, and so I don't get what he's doing. And I think that he
might not be smart. Maybe he's a nice guy. Doesn't mean he knows what he's doing.
Thanks for the call.
Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Got some other calls on the line.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice hearing you guys. Hey, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
is Scott Lima leaving have anything to do with this disruption of the council?
He didn't say that publicly, but it's,
Because I've watched him on TV, and he's done an admirable job.
I would agree.
Ward 5.
He's one of the people that voted against that CPA question.
Right. He's a good guy.
A respectable job. And
smart guy, too.
Yeah, I'd just like to know, if he could, why are you leaving? Is it a personal thing which you don't want to discuss? That's fine. But, he's my counselor. I'm a Ward 5 person. And it's sad to see somebody go that seems to have some common sense and some dignity. And, it's just sad.
I agree with you, and he's really gotten, the experience that you need.
Yeah.
He asked,
this time you need experienced counselors in there.
And he asked the questions that are important about the items that are not necessarily political, that aren't even going to make it in the paper or the radio the next day.
Yeah.
I watched the council meetings. He asked important questions about construction projects, all kinds of stuff.
Yep. The other thing is, let me ask you this question. You guys probably know. Where is the mayor? Is he sick?
No,
because I haven't heard of him for about 3 weeks.
He's at a conference.
He's at another conference.
I think a vacation and then a conference.
He's been on many conferences. He's been on conference for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I thought he was sick to this.
He was
usually he's on top of things and he's commenting and how he feels. And again, we really don't know how the mayor feels personally.
Well, I can tell you, I've been in communication with him. I think other people here at the station have been in communication with him.
Mm-hmm. Is he in town or he's out of town?
He's been out of town.
I think he's
back and forth.
I think he's in town now. I think he's back in town tomorrow.
And I can tell you, he's definitely paying attention to what's going on.
Oh, I'd like to hear him personally comment on this. The other thing, Marcus, there was a gentleman on the other
I think he's going to come roaring back.
Oh, I'm
and
sure
give you plenty of comments.
He's never at a loss for words.
No, believe me.
Okay. Now, the next thing, there was a gentleman that was on the other night, right after I spoke with you, Marcus, and he said he was a builder, I guess, and he mentioned how difficult it was in this city to get building projects going.
Yes.
Do you think that plays any problem in why we don't have housing and stuff? So much so that a former city councilor is worried about finding housing. Gilly Safiotis has to go to Fall River to find housing. Big Al, where is Big Al, by the way? Has he been?
I haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah, I hope he's been taken care of. So again, that was a very interesting comment about the gentleman who went to City Hall, and he said, when you try to do business and do something, and he pointed out that Fall River is much better. Now, that's on somebody's watch, whether it be the city council.
Well, he talked about all the housing that's actually being developed in Fall River.
What was that?
Yeah. He talked about all the housing that's actually being developed in Fall River.
So again, who's minding the wheel here? The wheel of the good ship New Bedford is just spinning around like Gilligan's Island, that sort of stuff. I would hope that they would have some plan, either the city council or the mayor, as to what to do about the housing that we don't have, even for a good former city councilman like Tom Kennedy.
So I have heard that from other people, but I will also point to, excuse me, the mayor announcing is 140 units of housing being constructed, multiple different projects around the city.
Where?
The Old Holy Name is one of the sites.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But
there's Union. There's Union Street, the Old Holy Name. There's a few others. I can't think of off the top of my head.
The thing that got me about the gentleman who was talking, he seemed to bring up some good points and he was very sincere. And the thing that he pointed out was the difficulty doing business in the city of New Bedford. The difficulty when you go to City Hall, and the red tape you have to go through. He mentioned it was like a 25-page application or something.
Colin, if we had a functioning housing committee, that would be a great place to call in the developer, right? To get that on the record.
I just hope somebody grabs the wheel on this because, we do have a problem here with the housing. Again, when a former city councilor is worried about, where he's going to live. And, Big Al had that unfortunate thing when somebody went in and cut the pipes in his house and stuff. So now he's got to get out of there. And, Gilly Safiotis, too, who cares about the city, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, and his thinking and his approach. I think we go, when somebody can point to Fall River and say Fall River is outdoing us, I always, especially being from New Bedford, I always thought New Bedford was better. But I got a solution to the housing problem. I know you guys like to watch The Godfather.
Yes.
The scene where the Godfather's wife comes to see him in The Godfather 2 and says
she's crying because there's this poor lady. The guy's going up on the rent ornament.
And she wants to keep the dog, yeah.
Yeah, she wants to keep the dog. And then the guy goes and he says to the godfather, "Oh, take you out of here, butching me around." And this and they say, "Hey, I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to argue with you. You ask anybody around about me. Ask your friends about me." Okay, and he gives him some money. Then the guy comes back. He says, "I'm going to reduce the rent $5." And he goes, Dewey dollars. And he goes, "Hey, the rent stays the same. Well, maybe we ought to get the Godfather to come in and solve the housing problem."
Bring up Providence.
Yeah. All right, fellas, I'll let you go. I put in my 2 cents for the night, and keep watching. And again, if you got an into the mayor, I'd like to hear him make some comments on this, even if he calls into the show.
I think we'll have the mayor in pretty soon.
Even if he calls in, he doesn't have to show up down there.
No, we want him to come in. He always does a nice job. He comes in.
Okay, one other thing I should mention.
Okay.
I ran this by this morning.
I was listening. I heard
on Tim's show. Yeah, in Fairhaven. Okay, the Sconneck Road.
I know it well.
There was a gentleman that called after me and said there's stop signs on Sconneck Road.
There is not. I heard that.
I think he means as you enter into Sconneck.
Well, maybe he means
from the
periphery,
from the side streets.
From West Island, maybe
from the side streets.
Yeah, I think that's what he means.
Again, over the years, there's been a number of people that have been hit there. The elderly lady passed away there. I watched Channel 10, and they had a story on it where there was a lady that lost her daughter years ago, and she had a picture of her daughter there because she got hit by a car. Gee, it seems it would be an easy, solution, to put some signs there if you could. Now, Tim claimed you got to go see the state or something, but I don't know. Or maybe one of those signs that you put up there, but not permanently, and they say speed limit 30 miles an hour.
Did your car not have a horn?
What's that again?
Did your car not have a horn?
Well, I'm just saying.
You put the pedal down and beep the horn.
I know Sconneck, and I know in the past Sconneck was very rural, but now it is getting developed more. And if you can save somebody's life by a small act, even putting a police car there. I know when I see a police car, I put my foot on the brake because who knows? And then sometimes there's nobody in the car. But something to stop that from happening. Again, Sconneck, when I was a kid, you go down there, it was like you're in the country. But it is developing very much.
Yes.
And I saw the Channel 10 news thing, and there were elderly people that they were interviewing with their doors slightly open, and they were mentioning that people speed up and down. I know near Wood School that doesn't happen. The school, especially when the school is open, there's people there. But gee, if you can stop some people from getting killed there, it would be a good thing, I think, with little effort.
Look, as a long time resident of Sconneck Road in the summers, I appreciate that. But there is no stop signs the length of the road. There, when you come in off the side streets, there are, certainly from West Island. Yeah. But I do think the Fairhaven Police do a nice job up around the Woods School, and they're always on the Neck Road. I heard the caller say that, and I agree with him. Mm-hmm. There's always police on the Neck Road because when I was younger, I'd often have a foreign load or a foreign passenger with me, and I would make sure I was keeping my foot off the accelerator.
Yeah, but it's to me, again, I saw that lady there who had lost a daughter who was young. She looked like the daughter sure picture. Looked like she was just out of high school. Or maybe
I believe she was, yeah. It's very sad story.
A small intervention could save a life, That's all I'm saying,
No, I think you mean well, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for the call. You might save my life.
Take care.
Thanks, my man.
All right, we see some calls online. We're going to take a break.
1420 WBSM can now be heard on 99.5 FM.
Get hot!
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, like a date with my wife, or going out together with my family and friends, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix. Every empty seat at a concert, a game, motorsports, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can help. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Find out how by visiting www.vettix.org. That's www.vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Veterans and their families are popular targets for financial fraud. Scammers may try to defraud you through misleading commercials, emails, texts, cold calls, or online ads. They may even pose as someone from VA or an organization providing discounts on fees for services. But VA will never charge you for processing a claim. Do not provide your personal information to anyone other than a VA-accredited representative. To find a representative near you, visit va.gov/find-rep.
Pollution from trucks is a public health crisis. Diesel-burning trucks belch dangerous levels of pollution, and communities living near ports and along freight corridors breathe especially high levels of this dirty air. But this crisis has a solution. My name is Sasan Sadat, and I work for Earth Justice. I'm working to clean up our air quality, particularly for communities that bear the burden of diesel pollution. For the sake of our lungs, our health, and our climate, the future of trucking in this country has got to be zero emissions. Until then, I will never rest.
Earth Justice is a national legal nonprofit defending the environment and people's health. Earth Justice is fighting to save lives, protect our climate, and strengthen our economy through the shift to zero emissions. If clean air matters to you, visit us at earthjustice.org. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
Hello, I'm Jose Hernandez, and I have been using a wheelchair since my accident in 1995.
My name is Andrea Dalzell, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 5 years old.
I guess if I had one message for the general public, it would be that I appreciate your help. But please, ask first.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that I've actually got everything under control.
I think people get nervous. They don't know how to act, so they pretend I'm not there.
What probably bothers me the most is when waiters talk to my companion and not directly to me.
I think everyone with a disability can relate to that parking spot problem.
We know you're just parking in that disabled spot for a second, but please, don't. We're just looking for the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
United Spinal Association is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life of people living with spinal cord injuries and disorders. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
WBSM isn't just a broadcast. It's also a podcast. Get all of our podcasts at WBSM.com, the WBSM app, or just search WBSM on your favorite podcast provider.
Let's go back to the phones. Good evening.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, just real quickly, point of information. Big Al is now in an assisted living facility on Walnut Street.
Great.
Yeah, and I use that word, point of information, on purpose. That's parliamentary language. I have yet to see any of the city councilors outmaneuver on the council floor another city councilor.
I agree with you.
There's none of that exchange anymore. I mean, I got out of college in 1980. I got elected that year. And certainly I was educated. Right. But when I get into that council, I was dealing with folks like Lawson Paul Brooker, George Rogers, John Pat Callahan, people that made that chamber honorable in terms of discussion, and you could go hardcore at each other. And at the end of the meeting, everything was okay. You let it roll off your back. It doesn't seem to be happening with this council. There's resentments and grudges, and it just destroys the honorableness
and the reputation of the city.
It's resentment and grudges. It's two extremes: resentment and grudges, or everybody working in lockstep.
Right.
Yes.
Because they're afraid of each other or being isolated. It's very strange, Marcus.
Or they're like pissed off at the mayor.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, all that portion of the anger at the mayor. You know, you can have a policy opposition to them.
It's designed that way, really.
But you bring it to the council floor and you discuss it.
Right.
That's what they're for. And all you get back is rhetoric and little one-liners, you know. And that's a little bit bothersome. As far as new councilors, you know, as I was saying, I was assigned the Shellfish Committee when I first got in there. We turned that into a closed body of water, which was under the jurisdiction of the state, to a $3 million industry. I spent 3/4 of my time during the day, because I didn't have to go to work till 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
3/4 of my time working on that, rewriting regulations, doing the work that was necessary. Was so fortunate to get Brad Burke, the shellfish warden, who did the work of about 5 people. Honestly, he was unbelievable. But over a period of time, that industry on the coal side turned into a $3 million industry. And guess what? In modern day council, they eliminated the committee. That was a standing committee since the 1950s. That one ticks me off. When you look at the streets committee, do they have jurisdiction over the streets anymore? I think they gave that up too. Right. And you wonder why, when they dig the ground with Eversource, who goes back for the oversight? If you had jurisdiction over the streets, you'd go back, and that would be brought up into the council. So the legislative body and the power that they have, they seem to have absconded from that in exchange for something else. And that's sad because it's teetering. The word honorable is teetering there a bit right now, and that's really unfortunate.
Look, I appreciate you, Counselor, former Counselor, talking about the work that can be done by a fully functioning council, by individual counselors who care about their job, who take an interest in it. That the power of the committee is everything. The fact that you can build the record, build public support, take evidence, come forward with legislation that has some standing in reality, not just and not what I have referred to, and I'm yet to be proven wrong, a cruel hoax on the honest people who are trying to pay their rent in the city of New Bedford.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
But even that business guy that came in, there would be, in my day, there'd be somebody jumping all over that to reduce those barriers so that the next time the person came in, instead of a 25-page, maybe he'd have a 2-page.
Yeah, development, right, to build.
Stuff like that, Incredible.
It is. It's incredible. To think about it, we know when Boston changed hands from Mayor Menino to Mayor Walsh, the first thing Mayor Walsh said is we're going to build, okay? Because Menino did not like building, did not like high buildings. He didn't, and I understand his point. He thought shadows.
He didn't like shadows.
Well, yeah, but I mean shadows when there's no sunlight in a city, that is a problem.
Yeah.
He could have been
a little bit more artful about that. But that was Menino.
That was Menino, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that Walsh came in and said we're going to build, right? And the only way we knew that they were holding up building was once Menino left. So I do think that now again, to counter the point that that unknown developer on the phone made about having a hard time building, we do see there's all kinds of building happening now with under Mayor Mitchell. About 140 units of housing just right away. Yeah. So we'll see what time tells. But if it is that hard to do business in the city or not, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank God for Big Al. He's got a place. Talked to him today. He didn't like it because it was cold in there. But hey, he's got a roof over his head. He's got people taking.
It's colder outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Thanks.
Thanks. We're going
to take a break. Welcome back. Let's go to the phones. Good evening.
Hello, you're on the air.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, listen, not much. Just trying to stay out of that cold wind that's out there tonight.
It's no good. It's no good tonight.
So I hear a Big Al is safe and sound over there on Walnut Street. That's good news.
It is good news, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What I would like to know is who won the arm wrestling championship of New Bedford? Was it him or the other guy?
It was always Big Al. Big Al is the champion. Big Al. You ever seen the mitts on that guy?
I've seen him around. I used to see him walking around the South End.
Yep.
Before that, is what I was actually calling. I'm hoping to see him again. Is that he used to have like a motorcycle. I think it was like a Enduro or a 175cc bike or something like that. And
he had a motorcycle,
yeah, I'd see him whipping up and down Brock Avenue on that thing.
No sidecar, though. Don't ever think he had a sidecar. Ken Pittman and I used to give him a hard time, tell him he had a sidecar, but he didn't.
Yeah. I'd like to see him riding that bike again.
I think you will. I hope you will.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yeah, bye.
Hey, by the way, I got an article now that just came up on WBSM.com you can check out. It's about the great work the Boys and Girls Club's doing in New Bedford, and the work that they have done really for 130 years. So you can check it out. They're actually looking for more funding for some other projects. You know, one of the areas of
CPA?
Well, they've received CPA funding, and they're probably looking for more. Yeah. Right. Yeah, they'd probably be looking for more, unless Linda Morad gets what she wants.
Sad but true.
It is sad. She wants to pull away funding from the Boys and Girls Club in New Bedford that has 500 school-age kids per day.
Right.
And she wants to take away a funding source from them. It's really sad. It's really pathetic. And it's I know it's laborious to go over, but it's just so important that we had to cover it. But tomorrow we have Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll.
It's going to be a very interesting show. I think the Lieutenant Governor is extraordinarily qualified for the job.
I was super impressed with her when she came in studio with us. Yeah,
really impressive person.
So she'll be on with us tomorrow talking about housing and what the administration's doing at the state level on housing issues. And on Friday, Bristol County Sheriff Paul Heroux is going to be joining us.
Always interesting guest.
Always an interesting guest. And so he'll be joining us to talk about some of his efforts to get funding for Ash Street.
And Marcus, if anyone's missed any of the shows this week, they're all available as podcasts.
Our podcast our podcast downloads are through the roof. It's a hot commodity. You can go to Apple, Spotify, go to WBSM.com. You can use the WBSM app. Anywhere where podcasts are offered, you can find South Coast Tonight, and you can listen to every single hour of this program, which is like 400 hours. Can you believe it?
No, that's very interesting. 400 hours. That's how many we got already?
I think so. Let me just check. Actually, I can tell you in a second.
That's wild. So we have a variety of topics on there. Sometimes stuff worth going back and listening to because we try to build on topics.
Mm-hmm.
If we develop a story, we would like to continue. Developing
495 episodes.
Fantastic.
So it means it's 495. No, that is the episodes of the hours.
Episodes of each hour, yeah.
Yeah, so we have ours. Some radio stations elsewhere that you definitely don't listen to and never should have all their podcast like shows all together. Like if it's a 4-hour show, it'll be all together. It'll just be like this one big 4-hour block. What a mess. And but us, what we do is we have it segmented. Each hour is available, and we have a description. So it's
like a paragraph.
Yeah. It's like, yes, exactly. And so, so you can access our 495, soon to be 496 paragraphs. Paragraphs.
It's like reading Atlas Shrugged.
It's how many, that's a fairly big book.
It is, but we're going to continue writing, so our paragraphs.
Yeah, our story will continue.
The story continues. So we have that, and we have big lineup tomorrow as well. You have the sheriff filling in for Phil Palaluris.
Yeah.
Then you have Tim Weisberg.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, of course, Barry Richard.
Yes.
And Howie Carr.
And then us. And again, looking forward to talking with the Lieutenant Governor tomorrow and hearing what the administration is doing on the housing level.
Because much of this really needs to be tackled as a state problem.
Oh, of course.
And your big changes in laws, regulations, and funding is going to come from the state.
One of the things is they talked that I know that she's going to want to talk about is expansion of HDIP, which is the housing fund available for gateway cities, developers in gateway cities to build more housing. So we'll talk about the expansion of HDIP and a few other things.
And look, again, folks, I know we're talking about rent a lot here in New Bedford, but as Representative Markey has said, look, the key to it is home ownership. Doesn't work for everyone, and that's okay. But it works maybe for you more than you realize. Yeah. And there are a lot of resources out there. And I have a feeling that the Healy-Driscoll administration is going to expand the first-time homebuyer programs and things of that nature. Because really, locking in the wealth of a home ownership changes you and your family's entire destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We will be back tomorrow again, and we will be back Friday. We've got Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll tomorrow, and we've got Bristol County Sheriff Paul Heroux on Friday. So you'll definitely want to tune into those episodes. A lot of good stuff happening, and we appreciate you tuning in, calling in, app chatting, or just listening.